bending everything. Want to go ahead and do roll?
Yeah, did you want to make mention of the recording and
Yeah,
two paragraphs? Yeah.
Just a note to everyone that this meeting's being recorded on Microsoft Teams, and participation in the meeting is consent to be recorded. And my phone's not turned down. So that's also a reminder. It'll be the recording of the meeting will be rebroadcast on YouTube channel. And please turn off and mute your phones.
All right, so roll call. Marty Oosterbaum.
Present.
Gary Perrick, present. Sally Ricciardi. William Clevenger.
Present.
Tony Mayfield.
Present.
Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I have approval for the minutes. September 12th, 2022 regular meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm gonna abstain from that. I missed the meeting.
I guess you can. Town manager reports the next item. on the agenda.
Okay, not a whole lot of changes. The tip creation, let Phil know that we need to get started on that. We ideally like to have that done next calendar year. In time to have the new tip area created for the housing development. I have also asked Jim Clevenger to handle the annexation involved there. It's a little more complicated than if we were just annexing a little chunk of property for, say, combining lots of plains. Lake Max Phase 3 and Slayton Jefferson Trail, these are still in environmental. We're getting back letters from some of the agencies that have to sign off on the environmental work. So it's moving, it's just slow moving. Broadband fiber. I've sent out a contract draft of the fiber agreement that would be between the town council, redevelopment commission, and SURF. There are some areas on here you probably saw highlighted that SURF would be filling in, such as how the network will get laid out, some technical information that they typically like included on their side. But we also reference throughout the agreement, the RFP that SURF submitted, which outlines all of the technical requirements that they had to meet with our own RFP. So this agreement basically holds them to following that RFP document, which is extensive, and I didn't include it because I think I've sent you guys the final draft of that. Appendix A is also a license agreement. This is for them to have access to our right of way. And this is something that Bob and I met with both Irvin and Plymouth to figure out how they worked with SURF in the right of way. Plymouth has a board of public works, and they often like an on-staff engineer. So we have followed a lot of their guidelines when putting this together. And part of that permit agreement would be that if they have to do a road cut or they put in these things they call pots, every 2 or 3 houses or so. As they're doing that work, if they have to do a road cut, they have to leave it in the condition they found it or better when doing repairs and that sort of thing. So a lot of what would protect the town as they're installing is part of that license agreement. They do have their own contractor that does right-of-way work that we would start working with during the planning stages of this. But anyway, so you're going to see reference to both Appendix A, that agreement, and Appendix B, which is the RFP. And then our contract basically holds them to both of those. One of the things that has come up in some of our background work on this, as I told the town council, we have a lot of homes that are empty in the winter months. And then the issue that occurs there is when you're boring underground, you hit a utility line, a sewer line, a water line, and often you don't learn you hit it until a homeowner realizes it's been hit. Toilet backs up or whatever occurs. So we expressed some concern with SURF that we have a lot of homes that are empty in the winter months, and if you start boring now versus later in the spring and summer, we may run into some issues where homeowners show up and that's how we learn there's a broken line or it's way too late at that point, done property damage. So in discussing that with SURF, they agree that we need to figure out the timing of this so that also we're not affecting businesses. The schools obviously want to get connected sooner versus later. So we're going to have a meeting with SURF to talk schedule, but we're leaning toward not connecting neighborhoods until sometime next year. That would also give us time to plan out the schedule, communicate with the public, all of which we think is necessary given the kind of unique situation in Culver with a lot of part-time homeowners. So right now, I'm just wanting to get your feedback on this. It doesn't have to be tonight. A draft of this will also go to SURF to fill in some of the technical requirements from them, as well as the town council. And Jim Clevenger thought it best to have both town entities sign off on this agreement versus just the council, because CRC is providing funding for this project as well. So have a look at it. Let me know if there's anything that you think is missing. It's had the attorney's review, and I've incorporated his feedback and some of the council members who have given me feedback as well. There is a compensation section in here, and having talked to Kieran about that and looking at how SURF has done it with other communities, we would not start paying until work starts. And then they would be responsible for giving evidence of so much percentage of the project completed. So if we break out the street maps at 25%, they would be compensated 50% and then 100%. So the day they start work, they would get their first compensation, and then 25, 50, and 100. That's how I broke it out, just to come up with a way to compensate. Some of their agreements have 2 different payments. One is up front and one is at 100% construction. We prefer not to do anything up front. We want to do things when the work actually is starting. And then I've also outlined SURF's investment in this because they do have an investment, and I thought that should be part of the agreement. And then, of course, the license agreement has a lot of the ways that we are protected in the, if there's potential for damage to lines. It also tells them what they can do in the right of way, how close to the sidewalk they should be, etc. But that's pretty much what I wanted to cover for the broadband agreement. The Ready Grant, as you guys have heard, we received 1.3 million on the Ready Grant for the housing project. South Bend Elkhart region is going to roll out some training for how the dollars are accepted, what we have to do on this end. So I will attend those and let you know how that goes. And then Crossroads Culver team is continuing to work on the comprehensive plan. I know several of you have been involved in those meetings. And that's going well. We're rescheduling the October meeting in the event that you attend that. Normally, we would be meeting October 27th, but the Marshall County Crossroads team has a one-day workshop that several of us will be at. So we're going to move the MACOG meeting, and I'll let you know what that date is as soon as I get that from them. And then Regional Stellar Project, you've seen, is under construction. A lot going on in the park. And they've had a construction meeting on site with the contractor. We'll probably get some change orders and typical stuff that happens. So far, so good. And the playground equipment that got removed, in case you're asked, the town council agreed to donate that to the town of La Paz. So La Paz came and picked up that equipment last week. And I think they've already put it in their park, so they're pretty excited to get some of that. That's it, so.
Thank you. Are there any questions for
The exhibit that has the specs, is that available to take a look at? I would benefit from that. I don't believe I.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, just so you guys know, I did send a copy of this to the Broadband consultant that we used. He headed up Indiana Broadband, so I wanted him to take a look at the contract, and I've asked him to get his feedback to me in the next week or so. But I'll forward that to you, Mark.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
great? Next item on the agenda is the financial report that you all should have received. Do I have, is the September one ready to be approved?
You can go ahead.
Okay. You need to approve the August and September 22nd, September 2022 financial.
Motion to approve the August 2022 financial report on separate motion or you want it on one?
All in once.
Okay, move to approve the August and September 2022 financial reports.
I'll second that.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
The next item on the agenda is the approval of claims. Have a motion to approve the claims that Aaron sent out.
So move. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Since the CERT broadband contract is the next item on the agenda, but since you discussed that, I'm assuming you won't want us to sign.
No,
until you
I
have the
just really
final
want you
thing.
to take some time to review it, and once CERT adds their sort of technical information, I'll present you a final draft.
Okay.
This is more or less if you see any red flags.
Eight.
Yeah, yeah. I just want to make sure a draft gets to you before actual signing.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is new business. Is there anyone here from the code? Okay. Do have a facade grant request from the code. It's a working request. We should have all received it. They had two estimates for Legacy Gemini General Contracting for $303,946. And the second one was from A&M Home Services for $311,134.75. And considering that our grants are up to 30,000, I think that it doesn't matter which one they, it's not a matter of accepting a low bid. But question is, they're in the TIF. They contribute a substantial amount. Do they have any objections to giving them the full 30,000 grant, facade grant? We want them to do. Do I have a motion to that? Is there any discussion?
Fulfilled all the needs of the requirements that we.
Yeah,
we
they
asked for.
sent pictures of the roof. They sent their W-9. They sent all the other information we needed in the application. I think it's kind of a brainer.
Run good.
So
So move.
the full 30,000. Do I have a second?
A second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
The next item on the agenda is the facade grant request from the Antiquarian Historical Society. Since Patty's here and I assume two other representatives.
Yes, we just wanted to make a verbal, I know you have all the materials, but just to give you a verbal explanation of what the Antiquarian Society does. And to that matter, I'm going to speak on that. And then this is Jerry Hazelwood, and he is the chairman of the Heritage Park Committee that manages the park. And then Mark Martin is the treasurer of the Antiquarian Society. You're not? Mark Miller. Oh, okay. Okay. Well, I don't need you.
Got your people mixed
He's
up
an old
there.
friend. This is interesting. In our archives, I found this and I thought that was the original drawing for the park.
Yeah.
The whole park. Patty Stallings, 506 East Lakeshore Drive, Culver. I'm the president of the Antiquarian Society and Historical Society. Actually, I know Tony has heard this. I was at Kiwanis a few weeks ago. Culver area has an amazing history that began 1,000 years ago when a retreating glacier filled a deep basin with water that formed into our Lake Maxinkuckee. And sitting here today, we're making history for our town and region by recording these meetings and putting them in the newspaper, on your website, on our website, Facebook. We put photographs, written word, and verbal communication. We collect that because this meeting is history. And we have, and we, the Historical Society, are storing all that information we get from committees and we get from families. I'm sure you all have family histories, and I know I have a personal history with Culver and Lake Max. I do know in talking to Sally, she may have the longest one here. Her family's been here a long time. And so she understands how far back and how important it is to maintain these histories of families. And that's why the Culver Society, Historical Society, is alive and well today, because we have 220 members, which is probably the largest membership of any community organization here. That's because this is a really interesting place. And you all have histories here. And we're recording them actually through all kinds of ways. And if you have things, and people do, they bring them to us. And Reverend John's not here yet, but at any rate, it's sometimes a very colorful history, as you know. Each of us have a story, and this century right now is very important to Culver and its lake and its development. It's changing rapidly. And so we're collecting information to preserve and present these stories and thus strengthen the bond of our community here. Because if you know your history, then you'll know what the nation is worth and what the community is worth. Now, there's 6 ways in which we fulfill that mission. One, in 1974, the Society, and since then, has maintained an ever-growing research center, which Brendan Houghton, he missed a meeting for once. You all know John Houghton. He's about as old as Sally's family is. Anyone can access that in person, making an appointment, using our extensive website, which is fabulous, and viewing our displays. Thousands of hours of volunteers have been spent cataloging, digitizing, and preserving the local history through books, newspaper, family archives, verbal tapes, professional and family films, and local writers. The second thing we do is we present at least 4 yearly programs which feature some portion of that remarkable history. And this year we've had over 50 people attend each of those 4. So it's very successful. People are interested. Our third, we are planning a travel display. Since we had to give up our museum, we're establishing ourselves. We're lucky to have a large area in the high school. And so we're able to use the history professor, the art teacher, those children. They have a digital printer there that we hope to work with. We hope to have those children, students, do a lot of things for us. We haven't gotten there yet because we're still unpacking. The fifth thing, the society's dues is large for a lot of people, $75 a year now, but it includes the subscription to the Culver Citizen newspaper. And if there are 220 subscriptions to it, we're saving that. It's gone to 2, but you know, it's important to us to save it because of the printing historical articles and securing our living history right now in a recording, a newspaper recording. And the fifth thing we do is that we register a lot of history with the Indiana Historical Sites Committee. The historic East Shore is listed. The Forest Street bungalows in town are listed. The downtown Culver downtown we've had listed as a historical landmark. And we placed plaques on Queen Road and Route 10 commemorating the Potawatomi Village and the first white settler located both there in the area. We're also working on one that's going to acknowledge the Lake Maxipatawpee settlement on 18B. So another thing we have done is replicate the 1800s lighthouse we purchased for the town park several years ago. to remind people of the lighthouse that it signaled to steamers. When the light went on, the steamers would come and pick up the visitors, vacationers. There were no roads. So they would get on the steamers and then take them out to the various lodges, kind of hotels out there, and they would stay a week to a month, then come off the train. And so we rebuilt that to remind everyone of the importance of that history. And finally, most important for tonight, there is Heritage Park, celebrating its 25th anniversary this year. And I'd like Jerry Hazelwood to tell you a little bit about it.
Jerry Hazelwood, 2296 East Shore Lane. You all know what Heritage Park is. And I'm sure everybody remembers what it was. It was a gas station. It was basically abandoned. The Antiquarian group reached the owner, who was in New Jersey. He agreed to sell it. It was a grand sum of $16,000, which was a contribution from one of the Culver Academy directors. This is a copy of the plaque that is in Heritage Park. It lists all the donors that were there 25 years ago. Unfortunately, most of those people are no longer with us. They left their heritage in return of our remembrance, and we're very grateful to them. In the last few years, we've renovated a number of things in the park. We've replaced the trellis, and the vines are now growing on that. We replaced arborvitae, which were dying. We put in a new fence to delineate the park from the alley. We've redone the electrical system. Now we're going for basically the final part, which is the pergola. The pergola is a unique structure that was thought to be very beautiful, as Navy heritage from Europe. Various people say that we can't actually prove where it came from. Exactly. The picture is very beautiful. This is a copy of plans. They look very simple, but there are a lot of dimensions on that that tell us exactly how it's done and how we would treat it. In this instance, it is wood, and in 25 years, there's been some deterioration. I have numerous pictures of the deterioration. I'll pass it around.
I think that's online as well. What?
Yeah. Yeah, we
These, I don't think these are online. I took them yesterday.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We saw some of them,
But they're,
uh-huh. Yeah.
the park additionally has bricks that are memories of over 1,000 people who paid to have their names associated with the park. People come and reflect on their family and their heritage, and enjoy it, and we continue doing that this year. So that will Mark talk about the costs.
I'm Mark Miller, 866 West Shore Drive. As you see, the pergola is probably one of the most recognizable architectural areas of our town. And people have weddings there, they take photos, sit there and just admire the trees and whatever. since we have to replace it, which has been estimated at $44,560. I want to explain that our society operates on a break-even financial basis. We don't have funds set aside for this kind of building. So without external funding, we would not be able to do the replacement that's necessary. As you can see, that the pergola was originally built through generous donations from some of our neighbors. Marshall County Community Foundation has already promised to give us $10,000 toward our $44,000 need. So another thing is that our association does pay all of the maintenance for the park, the irrigation of the plantings, the lighting, and the benches. Basically, it's over $3,000 a year that we spend to maintain the park. So we'd like to ask you if you would consider helping us in whatever way you can so that we can preserve this structure. Thank you.
Appreciate the information. Anybody have any questions?
I might mention, construction wise, the reason, I mean, we were shocked when we went out to find out how much this was going to cost to replicate. I mean, that's a lot of money. What we're going to use when we get the money, instead of wood, we'll be using ASAC. Did I give you the information on that?
Yeah.
And that's, okay, then you know, it's layered, it's formed, it has to be done inside. And the only thing we can't use it for are the columns. We'll use hard as we can get. So we're hoping that should last a lot longer than 25 years, but that's why the cost, it's very, you have to have very good carpenters to be able to do that kind of work. We just couldn't, find anybody that wasn't, a lot of carpenters aren't qualified. We did talk to the,
I do know it's not the kind of thing you can build.
we were hoping the kids,
Yeah.
to use the high school, and he laughed at us.
Yeah.
There you go.
So the request would be for $22,560. $22,280. Correct. If we, one thing that with the Antiquarian Society too, it's a great project. It's a great part. It's a substantial part of our downtown, but they are non-taxable. And I know that in 2018-19, when we gave the grant the last time, what we did was, instead of calling it a facade grant, we actually just made it a grant. Because they don't pay taxes into the anywhere. But I do think that I personally think that it's a worthy cause. And I think that they would be hard pressed to come up with money without assistance. It's my,
Well, of the many things we've done, I think, again, it's an attractive and meaningful place that brings people to the center of town and gives an opportunity to go elsewhere, whether it's to have a meal or whether it's a shop or whatever the case may be. So it seems to me worthy of certainly our at least in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also view it as, I definitely view it as an economic development opportunity, drawing people
Yes.
into the town. I just, and I just don't, I don't see how the facade grant facilitates it. I think there's another avenue for the CRC to assist in this project.
And that's what we did the last time, just make it an outright grant rather than an actual facade grant. So I guess my question is the CRC willing to grant the downtown historical and antiquarian societies pergola?
Are there any hindrances to us doing that? Are
I
there
don't
any?
believe so.
Okay.
No, because it's an integral part of downtown.
Well, I know that, but just from our own body of legislation, what we have to
It
adhere
looks a
to.
lot better than the old Texaco station, put it that way.
So what are you talking about, the size of your grant?
I would be willing to go with the 22,000 to 280, half of what they're.
So we would recharacterize their request to a grant.
To a grant.
Okay.
I would move that we make the grant and the amount that's been so stated, 22,000, whatever it is, for the purposes of helping to rebuild the pergola and so.
I'll second that.
So just would like to understand the math. The 22,000 is derived as half of
Half of
the project cost.
Yeah, half of the project at the lower.
All right,
Is it
and then
the
there's
lower or the
10,000 from the community
No, it's
foundation,
just
and then the
lower.
rest
It's
would be benefactors. Thank you. I'm good.
So we have a motion in a second. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Start working.
Thank you.
Welcome.
We want it finished.
Thank you for
Before
your
it rots to the point where it falls on someone.
Oh, it's economic development and safety
Yeah.
benefit out of it.
Yeah. But I think mainly in economic development, because it does, you see in summer and actually in dead of winter, you actually see people out there looking at I think it's beautiful. I do have one thing that going on to the next item, which isn't actually on here, but when we approved the washboard sod grant, we approved it for $5,220, and their invoices came in. I think you have a copy of those, but the invoice for the graphics came in differently than it's actually came in higher than the original invoice that they had, but lower than the second bid that they had, because the second bid was 4,800 or something. This one is, their total that they paid was 2,359.06. So the question is, the 50% of the low bid or the low invoice would, if we took the actual invoices that were paid, would be 5,844.53, if I'm correct. Because it would be 9,330 for the roofing and 1,160 $79.53, 50% of the graphics, which would be a total of $5,844.53, where we had approved $5,220. Do we want to keep it at the lower amount, or do we want to
I mean,
pay the 50% of the invoiced amount?
I mean, my thought would be, you know, we received that facade grant package, we looked at it and we voted on it. I don't think we can control any future events. That's just
Acted on what was given to us.
right. And we approved that. So
Yeah,
I can't read
problem.
this.
I just wanted to get everyone's opinion. So. To the next item on the agenda, which is public input. Is there any public input? Yes, sir. State your name and
My name is Ken Walker. I live at 1017 South Plymouth. I'd like to comment on recent criticisms I've read and I've heard of regarding the planned development for the south end of town called the Dunes. First, I'd like to thank the Redevelopment Commission for their hard work considering the many opportunities for the town of Culver. The commission has a difficult and time-consuming task to guide the town in favorable direction. They must consider many issues and make difficult decisions. For their efforts, I wish to thank you guys. All of you. I believe that you do a very good job. Many town citizens don't have the time or the interest to serve the town of Culver and the commission board member. Second, I'd like to thank Jenny Monroe for her hard work on behalf of the town. Jenny sent an email to the town gown and lake on October 3rd. Her email clarified many of the planning activities in Culver. There's a clarification of the plan for the housing development. There's a mention of the planning projects in Culver, including a comprehensive plan, a stellar investment plan, and other plans. The planning is ongoing. Jenny invites the participation of the Culver community, stakeholders, and residents. There are communities that do not want participation, which operate behind the scenes. Culver is open government, responsive to the community, encouraging participation. As a voter, it is my responsibility to be informed of my local government activities. We are fortunate for the many opportunities we have in Culver to be informed citizens. I'd like to thank the commission and other board members who voluntarily serve our community. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ken.
Yeah.
Right.
And I agree with your applause. Appreciate your support. Is there any other public input? Is there anyone online?
There's just one person. Like they're not unmuting, so.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is member input.
I have nothing, thank you.
No,
Gary,
nothing.
and I have nothing other than to thank Mr. Walker again for his comments. And can I have a motion to adjourn and sign claims?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned.